Well, well, FoundryVTT is installed. You've added the D&D5e system, built your first world, invited your players, and everything's ready to go. So now what? Sure, you have the SRD 5.1 or the SRD 5.2, which is all fine. But you decided you want a little bit more, and you and all your players have chipped in and bought the shiny new 2024 core rulebooks on FoundryVTT. They're installed. Session 0 is here, and it's time to roll up some characters. Well, roll might be an option in 5e, but you get the idea. In this video, I'll walk you through how to set up your world so that your players have access to everything they need to build their characters. We'll use the 2024 Player's Handbook and create characters both as a DM and alongside your players. I'll also highlight a few archetypes, warriors, rogues, and casters so that you can see the tools in action. And I want to make things smoother for your table. I'll show you a few tips I've used for simplifying class action design and streamlining the process for your players. Welcome to Mithril Brew. I'm Chris, your digital instructor for mastering DMing in the virtual tabletop. I've run hundreds of sessions using FoundryVTT, mostly focused on the D&D5e system. Now I'm here to help you learn the ropes and craft your own homebrew creations with confidence. All right, before we get into actually making a character, we need to set up our environment so that our players can make their own characters. If you do not give them the permission to create an actor, they will not be able to make their own characters, and you'll be doing that for them. We don't want to do it for them. We want to enable them to make their decisions and go through the character creation process rather than us while we're making cool encounters, great scenes, and NPCs to challenge them. So we're going to go over here to the sidebar, go to game settings, go to user management, and configure permissions. There are the 4 different profiles, and most of you will probably set up players as the default profile. I recommend doing trusted player. There's a lot of options already by default the trusted player gets that really makes it easier for the players to utilize all the tools within Foundry, like the drawing tool, the file browser, to be really self-sufficient. The other one is creating journal entries. To create actors, we want to make sure we tick that option under create actors, and then we want to give them the ability to create and delete tokens. This is really important for them to be able to create their character and create things like summon creatures onto the canvas or change their image if they do a wild shape, for instance. Being able to create tokens and delete tokens is pretty important for that player to be able to do that, or you're going to constantly be assisting them in this process. So let's save this configuration, save and return, and now our players can set up their own actor. The next thing we want to do is we want to configure our compendiums. Let's go to go to the sidebar, go to Compendium Packs, go to Open Compendium Browser. Now, the reason why we want to do this is because we want to limit their options because it can be quite confusing. If we go to, let's say species, so these tabs on the side are the different options that you can browse your compendiums through the compendium browser. We'll go to species and we'll see that there are 3 different dragonborns from the 5.1 SRD, 5.2 SRD in the player's handbook. One way to filter that is to exclusively look at just the player's handbook and put a little green arrow, and that will allow you to just see the player's handbook. If you hit the red arrow, it removes the player's handbook. So now you just see the 2 options that are unmarked, 5.1 and the SRD 5.2. If we click again, and then it adds it all there. But why not just have that set up so that they don't need to do anything over here in the sources. And we go to the compendium source configuration. So that's at the top right, configure sources. The SRDs are part of the core system for the D&D5e, right? So 5.1, 5.2 is already built in. We want to just remove that altogether because we have the player's handbook, we have the monster's manual, we have the dungeon master's guide. We don't need any of the rules, spells, or SRD monsters or actors interfering with our character creation or even our world creation. We're also going to go, as a DM, we don't want actors bleeding in from these other sources into our options, because we have the Monsters Manual has all the actors we need. So we're going to go to Dungeon Master's Guide. We're going to remove actors. We're going to go to Player's Handbook. We're going to remove actors. And Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we're going to remove actors. So now they're not interfering with what we're looking at for selecting monsters when we're using the browser. We're going to close that. We're going to close this, and now your browser is set up correctly. Your Compendium browser, I should say, is set up correctly for your players to select the classes, backgrounds, and species while they're making their character. Okay, what I'm about to show you works both for the player and the DM, so the way you do this won't change depending on the profile in which you're logged into. We're going to go to the sidebar to Actors. We're going to click the Actors tab, and we're going to hit Create Actor. On the player side, they won't be able to create folders. They'll just see Create Actor. So we're going to name the actor, and then we're going to hit the Create Actor button. Here we'll open up the character sheet automatically. With the character sheet like this, nothing can be changed unless you go up to the top left and click Edit. My recommendation is the first thing you do is set your base ability scores, whether it be from your rolls or your standard array. So this is a fighter. We're going to set our base ability scores. And there we go. The base ability scores are set. While we're here, we're also going to add the portrait of the character because we have the character sheet unlocked. We're going to click here. You're going to want to make sure that you set this up before your players have access to it, because they will not be able to import files unless you turn that feature on for them. So I'm going to go in the asset folder. This is a specific folder set up by the Foundry developers for you to put your content in to the system. And then we're going to make a new folder, and we're going to call this Player Images. Now, any images related to the player character or player's items or whatever that they want to specifically have access to, you set up as player images. Again, the trusted player can browse the files and select them, but they cannot upload files. Only the DM can as a trusted player. You can give them access to upload files if you want. I choose not to. We're going to hit create that new folder. And then in here, we're now going to hit Choose File. It's going to take us to wherever your last time you loaded in a file. It remembers where you were. Because I've made multiple takes of this video, it knows this is where I want to go. But you find the folder location in which your files are located, and then we grab that image and we bring it over. And then we want to make sure that it's selected. So you'll see that down here. You always can click on it again and hit Select File. And now it brings that portrait over. It will use this portrait as the token image if you do not set a separate image for token. For now, we're just going to leave this one image. In future videos, we will go into setting up other images for your token. And that reminds me, if you like the videos and you want to follow along with the content I make sure to subscribe to the channel. You'll get notifications of when I make new videos, and I'm going to continue to show you ways to improve your skills within the FoundryVTT system. If you like the videos, give me a thumbs up. That way I know the content I'm making actually has impact and is useful. And then leave comments if you have any questions or you have suggestions of future videos I can make to help you out. We're going to lock the sheet back. Actually, we're not going to lock the sheet back. We're going to go to Biography. This all can be edited while the sheet is unlocked. So if the player or you, the DM, are making the player character, you can put in all the visual statistic imagery, I guess, using dialogue, appearance, personal traits, all these things that came from the first 5.1 SRD or 2014 rules. They're no longer used. Doesn't mean they can't still be useful. And biography. The biography sections, usually what I recommend is where the character backstory would be written. And if you put information here I'm going to show you how other players can then be able to see the character biography. We're going to now lock the sheet, and we're going to start making the character. The first thing we want to do is add a species. And we're going to go over here to add the human. As you see, there's only the player's handbook options to choose from. Hit select. And this is going to take you through a wizard that helps you add all the human traits that are that need to be added to the character sheet. So we're going to choose medium size. They get the skillful trait, so we're going to add animal handling. And then these are the other traits that they also get. So we already know that it had skillful. Resourceful is where they get heroic inspiration for a long rest, every long rest, or every rest actually. And then versatile is what gives them a bonus origin feat. So that's going to be the next thing here, versatile. We're going to choose tough to add extra hit points. And we're going to say complete. Now the human's all set. If you want to check your features, you will see that all the human species traits are right there. Go back to details. And we're going to now add background. Click the background. Again, it's only filtering to backgrounds and the player's handbook. And you can always check on any of the Compendium browsers by hovering over the item, and you will see a flyout to the side that will tell you what is in that item. If you click the middle mouse button, it will stay popped out, and then if there's let's say more information that can be scrolled, you can use your scroll wheel to go up and down. To bring this item onto the player character sheet, again, you can check the box, or you can drag and drop. That will then trigger the advancement wizard. I do recommend with the backgrounds and the classes to open up the background sheet or the class sheet and set it to the side. We're going to close this now. We're going to add the points. So we're going to add 1, 2, we're going to add this to 17, wisdom to 14, and hit next. The background gives athletics and perception skills. We're going to choose dice as our third proficiency. We're going to add 2 languages. And then you see that it comes with this origin feat of alert, and we're going to hit complete. Now, the alert feat automatically adds the proficiency to initiative. We'll see that when we finalize the character. And the guard also gives athletics and perception. So you saw that it's already has these proficiency skills selected, athletics, perception. With the sheet locked, we cannot change this. Now it's important to note that if it comes with athletics and perception as a guard, and the class, let's say fighter, also gives athletics as a free proficiency, you will then need to either accept that, because that's the 2024 rules that you cannot replace skill proficiencies if they are duplicated, or if you're a DM that wants to follow the old Xanathar's, or I do believe, or the Tasha's rule, that if it's duplicated, then they can select any skill of their choice. They will need to unlock their sheet. They will need to go to the skill that they want to take, and then they can click it as proficient, half proficient, if you have some rule that gives half proficiency, or expertise if they have that option. Or we just leave it blank because they're not proficient. Then lock the sheet and you're ready to go. All right, the reason why we popped out this background sheet is because it has the equipment in there. So to make sure that we add the equipment to the character sheet from the background, we're going to choose A. We could choose B and just give them 50 gold, but we're going to choose A, and we're going to drag and drop each one of these links onto the character sheet. We're going to hold off on the bolts because we're going to drag the crossbow bolt case, and this is considered a container item, and now we can drag the bolts into the container, and then travelers close, and we now just add the 12 gold that are left over after that default A. All right, Now we're all done with the guard background. Let's add the class. We're going to go under features. We're going to add class. We've already gone through most of this. You will see that it does pop up with the Tasha's Cauldron of everything sidekick class. It should be removed because of the down arrow. I'm sure there might be some reason why that's not working correctly. But Tasha's brings in the Artificer and those sidekick classes. We're going to choose Fighter. We're going to do the same thing with Fighter. We're going to click on the Fighter here, and we're going to set this to the side, and we're going to hit Select. It's going to do the advancement wizard for Fighter. We're going to go through this, add the different options, do survival and acrobatics. It goes through all the proficiencies that the fighter gets, and then we come to weapon mastery. I'm going to slow down a little bit here. We're going to go to our inventory, and we're going to see that we have spear and crossbow. We got those from the background. We're also going to get great sword, flail, and javelin because we're going to choose option A here, strength-based fighter versus the dex-based fighter, which is option B, or getting just gold. Weapon mastery can be changed every long rest, so we might as well set this up with the weapons that we currently have. If the player were to, let's say, find a different weapon or realize that maybe they should use a different one of the multiple weapons they started out with, they can change that at a long rest. So we're going to select 3 weapon proficiencies. We're going to do the light crossbow. We're going to check the great sword. And then let's do the flail. We're going to hit next. We're going to see the class features that you get. We're going to choose one of our fighting styles. For this time, we're going to do great weapon fighting. When you hit level 2, a fighter, for instance, gets to change this if they choose. If they, for instance, find a different weapon that makes more sense, or maybe they realize that a different style would be better fitting to the party, they can change that at level 2. The advancement wizard at level 2 will give you the option to replace one of those items, and then select a new one. We're going to hit next. We'll see that we get 2 second wind and the 3 masteries, which we already knew about. And there we go. Now we have our class. We drag the equipment over. This brings us to the javelin challenge. You get 8 javelins as a fighter. The problem is the javelins doesn't have a quantity option because it's not a resource. It's typically not a, let's say, consumable resource. If you keep track of character carrying capacity, or you keep track of resources like, hey, how many javelins do they actually have on them, then you might want to make sure that there are 8 javelins dragged over from the sheet. And as you see, it just keeps duplicating it as each one that I bring over. This will make sure that they are carrying capacity is matching that of 8 javelins. If you don't keep track of those 2 things, my recommendation is not to bring over that many items. The Dungeoneers pack is going to come over. You'll see it jumps up to the top here because the Dungeoneers pack is a container, the backpack that it comes with. And if you're keeping track of carrying capacity and resources, you'll see that it's already overweight. All you have to do is drag the item out of the backpack onto the character sheet, and it will reduce the weight. The water skin is also a container that has 4 pints of water in there. This is a consumable resource, so when you use a water skin, it'll use one of these items here. And then these can be replenished as an item. Then we're going to, we're still over. So my recommendation is just remove a few rations, because most of the time the players have ways of gaining more rations, and a week worth of rations, 7 rations is good enough. And actually that's 2 weeks worth of rations, because you only need 1 pound of food per day, and a ration is 2 pounds. All right, so if we close this, that's all balanced. We need to then add 4 gold piece to the total, so they're at 16 gold. And there you go. You have your fighter character built. If you're a player, the fighter will already be assigned to you. And if we right click here as a DM, we need to add the player or the actor to the player as an owner. If you're doing this from the player side, you don't need to do this. The player is already going to be the owner. This takes me to the different views in which the other players can have access to. So again, you can make all players owner. That means they can do and make changes on any character sheet that they have owner access to. Observer means that they get to see everything that's on the character sheet, but they cannot make changes. And then limited view. The limited view will give them access to just the biography section. So if that actor or that player on their actor wants to add the biography, which could be their background, and let other players see that, then you would set it as limited view. If you don't want them to see anything, leave it as none. My recommendation, give everybody observer. One way or the other, whether it be through secret chats or through metagaming, they're going to know everything that the other character has and what their character sheet basically looks like. Make it easy on yourself. Just give them observer. We're going to save changes. The next thing the character or the player will want to do is put their favorites in this favorite section here. So if they frequently use their greatsword and they frequently use their light crossbow and their flail because that's their mastery, and then over here in the features they use second wind, we bring that over. That's going to be useful there. That's going to have everything set up correctly. Under items, we also want to make sure that everything is equipped so it's gives the right statistics. And we have chainmail, so that's all equipped. So now you will see that the AC has jumped up to 16. You always can hover over the armor class and you will see the totals or where it's getting the armor class from. The initiative you will see is now +3 because of the alert feat, because the +2 to proficiency, because you have the +2 proficiency and +1 for dexterity. So the alert feat gives that. The character sheet is finished. Now, if the player after a long rest wants to change the weapon mastery, right here you will see the 3 weapon mastery selections already made. They have a little ribbon, and you can hover over the ribbon and it tells you this is the weapon that they have weapon mastery on. They can change that by editing their sheet, clicking the cogwheel under weapons, configure weapons, and then changing it. So if we want to remove flail and we realize that it makes more sense to have a spear that is using weapon mastery, then we will make that selection, close the window, and you will see now spear is part of the weapon mastery. The edit also allows you to remove your favorites. So if we click here, now we're good to go there. And so from the favorites, the player does not need to go and dig through all the tabs of the character sheet, especially if they have spells. They can drop spells in here. They can just quickly click on their favorites, and there's their ability to roll their attack. And that pops up pretty quickly, right? The next thing they are going to want to do, or you want to do as a DM, is you're going to want to configure their token. So before you drag the token to the canvas, we want to make sure their token is set up in a way that, again, shows information to the players without them having to use metagame, etc. So we're going to switch. We're going to go up to this little ellipses here and toggle controls. We're going to go to prototype token, and we're going to set their name to hover by anyone. And we're going to change resources to hover by anyone so they can see the hit point total on the tokens bar. And we're going to say update token. We're not going to get into all the other things that you can do on the update token. We can cover that on other videos where it becomes useful. We're going to now close the sheet. We're going to drag the token to the canvas. And you will see if we hover over, we will see Zahara's name and a bar that shows the hit point total. If we were to reduce their hit points or set it to the number that they have, you will see that now it shows a yellowing color. And if we were to bring them down to, let's say, 2 hit points, it auto applies the bloody condition and shows 2 hit points. And that's creating a fighter character in FoundryVTT. Next, I'm going to show you the rogue and some tricks with the activities to make sneak attack easier. Okay, we're going to create a rogue now, and we're going to do this pretty quickly. So follow along. If you have any questions about it, go back to the chapter before this under Zahara, and I go through better explanation. But here I'm just going to quickly go through. What I want to show you is a way that you can edit the sneak attack so that it's a much more efficient process than the way it currently is set up. So the way it's currently set up, if the rogue has an attack that qualifies for sneak attack, they have to roll. They then, if they hit, they roll damage. And then again, if it qualifies for sneak attack, then they roll the sneak attack. Roll the damage, and then you as a DM then have to select the creature and apply the damage to the selected creature or token. That's pretty inefficient. Why not? Let's just take the short sword and add a second activity that's called sneak attack, so that when you know you qualify for sneak attack, that it's going to be easier to select your attack action. So we're going to go under the inventory. We're going to go to short sword. And you can do this for all the rogue weapons, but I'm just going to show you on the one. We're going to hit edit. We're going to bring this up. As you see, edit, we're going to go over to activities. We're going to right click on the attack activity and we're going to duplicate that attack activity. And then the duplicate one, we're going to click and we're going to call it sneak attack. Then we're going to go to the features. We're going to go to sneak attack, and we're not going to edit anything. We're going to view this item. We're going to set this to the side, and we're going to go to activities. And you see that it's just a damage activity type. We're going to hit that, and we're going to open this to the side, and we're going to look at effects. As you see here, the formula to get the sneak attack damage is right here. This is coming from the advancement, feature advancement on the class. And then the type is you would select it after you roll the damage, right? So if we hit sneak attack, we'll see that we can select the type of damage. And it should be the same type of damage as the weapon that they're using to create the attack with. So it's a piercing, and you should have selected that when you roll, and then it knows that it is piercing damage by the imagery here. You'll see piercing 5. Okay. Again, that's inefficient. So what we need to do on the weapon under this new attack action or activity, we're going to go to effect. We see the attack damage for the short sword. We're going to add an additional damage, but we're going to click this little box to choose formula. And we're going to copy the formula from the sneak attack into here. And then we're going to choose the same damage type as the weapon you're using. So again, this can be used for, let's say, a club or another finesse item, right? Or it doesn't have to be a finesse, just any other item. And where you use the same damage type as the item that you're modifying. This, if you see, it says at scale, that means it will scale as the rogue goes up in class. So at level 3, you don't have to manually change anything. It knows that it should be 2d6 instead of 1d6. We're going to close all these windows. And now when the player clicks short sword, they're going to see 2 options: a regular attack or a sneak attack. If they qualify for sneak attack, they're going to choose that option. So they're going to click the button, they're going to roll. They're going to, let's say that's a hit. They're going to roll damage, and you're going to see that it now has the sneak attack damage already configured in the damage roll, set and ready to go. If this was critical, we hit damage and we could do a critical, it knows to roll 4d6 because the sneak attack damage die also doubles. And that's how you set up a rogue character in FoundryVTT with a little more efficiency. All right, now we're going to create our one caster actor, and let's take a look how that's done. Again, I'm going to go quickly through the first part and then move to the spell selection features because that's the difference between an actor, like a caster, and a fighter or rogue. to choose your spells, the first thing I'm going to suggest is go to features, go to spell casting, pop this open actually by going to the little ellipses to view item. We're going to keep this off to the side just like we did with the other items. And the reason why we do this, we want to be able to see that there's two links that we want to open. One is the Cleric spell list, and set that to the side, and the Cleric features table. If we hit the Cleric features table, we will, if we forgot, we will see how many spells they can have prepared and how many cantrips they know. And then if we expand it, we'll see all the other information from the table. So max spells prepared is 4, cantrips known is 3, and they get 2 spell slots. So with knowing that, we can close this. And if you're on a small screen, I do want to give this one tip. If you double click the header on any sheet that's open, it will collapse it so that it's out of your way, but you don't have to go and find it again. We actually can now close this unless you want to see the suggested spells that it's recommending. But we go over to the spell tab here. We see that it already has the Druidcraft added. We're going to add 3 cantrips for being a cleric. 1, 2, guidance 3. So there's my 3 cleric awarded cantrips, and then it says I can prepare 4 cantrips in a day. So we're going to choose Bless, Cure Wounds, Guiding Bolt, and Shield of Faith. Now we know clerics can't prepare more spells. So to prepare, you are going to go over here and hit this little cogwheel and click on it, and that will prepare it. They can only prepare 4 spells, but they aren't limited to the number of spells they know. They know all of the first level spells. They just choose in the morning which ones they prepare. What I recommend doing is putting a few extra spells on the sheet so they don't constantly have to go back and looking for this cleric spell list. So for instance, if they also frequently use Healing Word, Sanctuary, and let's say Detect Magic, go ahead and have them put them on their sheet. They just don't have them prepared. And then if they want to change, let's say, Shield of Faith to Sanctuary during after the next morning, then you would make that selection there, or we can switch it back whenever you want. Don't add all of the first level spells to the sheet because it will slow down the performance of the sheet. So I would keep a pretty limited number per level ready to go. As you go higher levels, you might not find that you're using Sanctuary that much because maybe there's a better use of a spell slot, or maybe you're not using Bless as much because it really doesn't help at a higher level possibly. For whatever reason, you might then remove spells by just hitting the little ellipses here and hitting delete, and it deletes it from the sheet. You will see the 2 spell slots have already been taken. All you have to do is hit long rest and hit rest, and the spell slots will come back. This is usually, for some reason, something you have to do at first level. All right, so now we have the cleric spells added to the sheet, but we did get Magic Initiate. Magic Initiate gives you 2 cantrips from one of 3 spell lists: the Druid, the Cleric, and the Wizard spell list. We're going to go to Druid, befitting with a Wood Elf, Cleric, and we're going to choose from the Druid spell list. So we're going to add Resistance, and we're going to add Produce Flame. Now, when I bring those over, you see it looks like it's awarded from the Cleric class, and we know that's not true. So we're going to go and we're going to edit these. And we're going to go to details, and we're going to remove that cleric class. We're also going to choose always prepared because it's a specific thing to the Magic Initiate that these are always prepared. And I know that typically with cantrips are always prepared anyways, but we just want to set that up this way because that way we remember going forward. We click on edit, and then we do the same for the resistance spell, We get rid of that. We go to always prepared. Stop the edit, and there we go. Now we're set up with our 2 Magic Initiate spells. So the nice thing about this is you will see that if we know Cleric gets 3 first level cantrips, or cantrips at first level. So you see they're awarded here. And then you have these 3 other spells that are awarded from some other source. Druidcraft, we know that they are a wood elf, so well, that's where that comes from. And then they have Magic Initiate, and they get 2 for being a Magic Initiate. And these are Druid spells. They also get a first level spell from the Druid spell list. We're going to choose Entangle. We're going to bring Entangle over here, and we know that we do the same thing. But this first level spell is always prepared like the cantrip, so we're going to go under Details. We're going to remove Cleric again, and we're going to say this is always prepared. And always prepared allows you to it's always prepared. They don't need to select anything here. It actually locks it so they can't accidentally unprepare it and move that to a different spell that's not part of that that selection for being Magic Initiate. The problem is the way it's set up, you do not have the limited use. So part of the Magic Initiate is that the Entangle spell in this character can be used once a day without using a spell slot. So the best way to handle that is to edit the spell. And much like the rogue's sneak attack, is just to create a new activity that is using that, creating a resource and using that resource rather than the spell slot. So we're going to right click and we're going to duplicate. And then we're going to edit this. So right click and edit. And when we go into the edit, we're going to change the name so it's quite obvious. So we're going to Magic Initiate, save, so that we know that that's the activity and that's going to be using up that resource. Under activation, we're going to go under consumption, and we're going to, instead of using a spell slot, so we're going to uncheck that, and we're going to add the consumption to be an activity use of 1. And then we're going to do limited use. It gets 1 per long rest, and at a long rest recovers all uses. We're not going to change anything else because everything else is still the same. It's just that's the limitation. We're going to close this and close this. And so now when the player wants to use Entangle, and again, you can take spells and move it over to the favorites. If they click Entangle, it's going to give them an option. Do you want to use your regular spell slot, or do you want to use the Magic Initiate feature? So let's use the Magic Initiate feature. When they click this, the dialogue says consume this activity. So you don't see that it's going to use a spell slot at all. It can't, because it's not, we chose it to not be able to go up at a higher level by using that. It's just going to show first level here, and then I'm going to remove these for now because we don't want that interfering. We're going to hit cast spell, and now if I go back in and click cast spell again, and I try to cast this spell, it's going to give me this warning. Even if I try to cast that spell, this is going to pop up and it's going to say, hey, you don't have any resources that you need required to cast the spell. If I hit long rest and I go back to cast the spell, it got rid of the warning. And that's how you set up Magic Initiate, set up a spellcaster in FoundryVTT. Okay, off camera, I added a 4th character. Cyroid here is a sorcerer with a high elf sorcerer with the Wayfarer background. Added spells, added equipment, and set up everything correctly. The reason why I want to do this is I want to show you a little bit about the group actor. The other thing I noticed that I did is on Kindle, he has the Magic Initiate from the Acolyte background, and I realized the Acolyte background only allows the Cleric spell list to be chosen. If you would choose choose Magic Initiate as a feat, whether it be level 4 feat or like a human bonus feat, or if you're a DM that offers one free feat, then they can choose which spell list they want to select it from. But this background specific to Magic Initiate Cleric. In doing so, then I removed the Druid spells, added Light, Word of Radiance, and made Cure Wounds my selection from that list, giving it a Magic Initiate Heal, which I should change that name to make it obvious. But what I want to do now is create an actor that is called, which is the group. So we'll just say party 1. We'll just call it that. And then it's a group type. And then we're going to create that actor. Then we're going to right click on the party 1 and we're going to set this as the primary party. And we're going to drag our party into it. You can, if you want, to add the an NPC. Let's say you have a hireling, a scout NPC that's going along, so that you could quickly see all their stats. So it's really neat that with the party sheet, you can see like the party's total, all their different AC, their movement speed, their perception, their default, I'd say passive stealth scores, and passive, I do believe this is passive survival checks. The other thing is that if you give configure the player's ownership to Observer, they also can see all this information quickly. I know in some adventures or in an upcoming feature is that they'll be able to see the party's travel pace as all together. I have not explored this yet, so I'm not sure how this works. If I do have a better understanding, then I will probably make a video on this. And then, of course, you can change the party image to whatever image you would like if you have one. I don't have one set up now. The Phandelver and Below premium module comes with party tokens already made that you can use, or maybe you have a collage, or maybe use a wagon token that you find that you can use as a wagon to be the party sheet. It has 3 tabs: members, inventory, and then biography. This might be where the players want to add some description to the party, maybe some summaries of adventures they've been on or things they want to keep up to date. If they want to make edits, I do believe they will then need to be the owner. And actually, I don't mind with the party sheets, the players being the owner on that. We go back here. The benefit of this is you see this XP pool. If you're using XP leveling, you can type in /award 200 XP in the message, the chat message section, and by doing that, you will see that this distribute award pops up. And if you're going to distribute to the party, you could pick the individuals to distribute. You can select the NPC because they're on here, but it's not going to do anything in terms of division. It's not going to reduce the party's experience based on the NPC being there. I wish it did. Might be something, a feature request that maybe put in there. You could also select so that they each get 200. If you were doing that, that might be a way that you divide it manually yourself, and then just say each of them get 33 or whatever that would be, divided by 40, I guess, 40 XP each. But right now we just wanted to do it for us manually, split it 4 ways, the 204 ways. The other option would be to, let's say, award the party 200 XP, and we're going to distribute that later. That way, if you want to award the group the experience, and then at a long rest say, okay, it's a long rest, now we're going to split it amongst you guys, and then award it. It awards it at the long rest, or whenever you choose. Maybe it's they have to do it in town, or whatever rule your table runs. So the nice thing too is that I can hit place members, and it will allow me to select all the members and place their tokens using this one button. And I also can call for a long rest here and choose everybody that selects a long rest and choose who's part of that long rest. I can take people out. I also can make changes like, if this long rest doesn't remove temporary hit points or doesn't allow max recovery hit points, that's a whole nother video on all the settings and rules, but I can do a long rest or I can do a short rest. And this will prompt everybody. When I do this, they're going to see this in the chat, and then they can click that they want to take the long rest themselves. So it's essentially just prompting them to, hey, apply a long rest, apply a short rest. And that's how you use the group actor. I think it goes along with creating your characters, because once you have those characters created, you're going to want to make that group actor. The other thing that I would close off this video with is create folders. Put all your players in one folder. Really makes it a lot easier to give them their own folder. They will then have that folder and all their characters will be together, even the party. And then you select that, and now you don't see the players in your folder. And I would even create folders for the monsters, and I would, based on, let's say, random encounters, or create folders with monsters that are within certain rooms. There's tons of philosophies on how to do that, but to keep this clean, create folders and keep everything in different folders. Even with the players, within the players, I even create another folder, because you can go 3 folders in, and I put summons. So any specific creature that they like to summon, and they want to name that summoned creature, so we'll maybe just put the scout in there. By doing so, they have access to that folder, and it just kind of keeps everything clean. With that concludes this video. Again, thank you for joining and watching this video if you've made it this far. Hopefully I've put chapters in and you've gotten to where you need, and you can go back and review. If you like this, please subscribe. I will start showing a little bit more creation, like I did with the Rogue Sneak Attack and the Magic Initiate features, and how to really customize Foundry to be more efficient for you. I will show how to do some macros to make some changes. I'm going to show how to create these nice looking tokens for your players and other monsters that you create. My next video, I will probably focus a little bit on some of the settings, because we'll start doing some scene creations and looking at how scenes are created as we continue to build our, our skills to running a full D&D adventure. I do recommend looking at the Phandelver Below adventure if you want to do something a little higher level. The House Divided adventure is made by the Foundry team, so it's them maximizing pretty much all the features within Foundry to give you an example of what you can do in an adventure. The Tomb of Annihilation is another D&D adventure. Of course, the DM's Guide, if we look at the compendium pack here, the DM's Guide has some scenes in it that you could use for adventures. But we'll get into that in future videos. Again, thank you for watching. Put a thumbs up if this helped you out. Let me know in the chat what you would like to see more of, what you liked about this video, what maybe you think I could do better. Appreciate it. Thank you.